Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Williamson County School Board meeting for October 15th. The first thing we do is record our attendance. So I'd ask board members, would you please record your attendance that you are here? And Ms. Emerson is joining us this evening through Skype. Ms. Emerson, I see you there. Say hello.
Hi.
All right, so you're here. So we have Tim McNeese is going to push the buttons for you as you tell us as you vote. Okay,
Thank
if you
you
go
very
ahead.
much. I appreciate the help.
Okay, go ahead, Brian, record our 11 present and 1 absent. All right, if everyone get ready for the Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to ask Deputy Harold Reed and Deputy Matt Erickson to come forward and lead us in the pledge, and then please remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for items of particular public interest, our public comment time. We have 2 speakers this evening. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. When your name is called, please come forward, state your address and what your subject is on. The first speaker is Edward Arnold.
My name's Edward Arnold. My address is 5036 Suter Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. What I'm speaking on is an introduction to a program called TIPS, Teacher Incentive for Public Education. Thank you for having me, board members and superintendent. My name's Edward Arnold. I am a father of 3 children in Davidson County in public schools. I'm currently a doctoral student at Tennessee State University. And in 2014 and 2018, I was a candidate for school board District 2. One of the issues I campaigned on in 2018 was a program I created called TIPS, which is Teacher Incentive for Public Schools. What the program does, it proposes to differentiate funding for urban and rural public schools by identifying barriers to public education and methods of correcting those barriers identified, and their proposed solutions through the TIPS process will receive priority funding in the annual budgetary process. I just stopped by to introduce TIPS, leave you some information on it. I'm going to different counties introducing the program. Next month I'm going to Wilson County. December I'm going to Davidson County. In January I'm going to Knox County and Shelby County. And basically just leaving you some information on the program, give you an opportunity to look at it. If you have any questions, to contact me. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jake Bendelsdorf.
Members of the board, principals, I'm Jake Bengelsdorf, and I'm here to talk about the previously discussed issue of religious exemptions in Williamson County. As you may remember, I'm Jewish and fairly observant, meaning I had to miss 3 days in the first semester due to my religious practices. To not miss more, I went to school sick, lost consciousness, and woke up in the nurse's office 10 minutes later with a 102 fever. I was sent home and couldn't attend the next day of school as I was not in an appropriate condition to do so, which put my grand total of allotted absences to 5 out of WCS's allotted 6. Now, in fixing this situation, I applaud the board for thinking of some solutions, but my concern stems from what the Tennesseans stated the board's possibilities were for future equality. It states that Superintendent Looney and the board discussed one option, leaving the policy where it is. If the policy is left as is, more and more students will abandon their faith in exchange for a school day, depleting WCS's only source of religious diversity and destroying the convictions of some of their strongest students. Those who keep them risk coming to school sick anyway. Last month I passed out on the football field. Next month it could be while driving. And the same goes for every other minority student in WCS. The policy change we want to fix this is minuscule. Our policy now effectively says that all absences, excused and unexcused, count toward exam exemptions unless they're college visits. All we need to add is except for college visits or recognized religious holidays regularly observed by persons of the child's faith. This one simple addition would end the environment of religious tension in Williamson County schools. It would end the public dissuasion of the practice of a student's minority religion. It would take 8 midterms off of the workload of many students like myself, and also encourage students to practice their faith and bring diversity to Williamson County instead of rapidly drifting away from their faith because of their county's policy on attendance. We are not asking for, as Superintendent Mike Looney said in the Tennessean, quote, a school calendar based on all religions, celebrations, or holidays, end quote, inclusive of 4,200 religions. We are simply asking for recognized religions to not count towards exemptions of students with straight A's. I'm fine with keeping the 6 absence policy or abandoning the absence policy as long as religion isn't a factor in it. Superintendent Looney stated the policy is absolutely not discriminatory against students who practice religions other than Christianity. The Anti-Defamation League defines discrimination as the denial of justice and fair treatment by both individuals and institutions in many arenas, including employment, education, housing, banking, and political rights. My devout Christian counterpart, my friends, can be religious and still get exempt. He or she has 6 days for sickness, funerals, and more. I have 2. Muslims have 4. Orthodox Jews would have none. It's not just and it's not fair, as the definition states. We don't want a calendar change. We don't want to get rid of exemptions unless that's what the board wants. All we ask is that recognized religious holidays not count against students with straight A's and exemptions. It's very simple, and I have full faith in the board to do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is to vote to approve the agenda. Anyone like to make a motion for approval of the agenda? We have a motion from Mr. Welch. Anyone like to second it? Second from Ms. Durham. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, I see no discussion. Everyone go ahead then and record your votes, please.
Just want to make sure that you all know with the new system that the county installed, don't press confirm.
There we go. All right, and Ms. Emerson, you approve the?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. McNeese, would you please record hers?
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you. The next item is approval of the consent agenda. I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. A motion, Mr. Welch, second from Mr. Cash. Any further discussion on that? Okay, I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes on that one, please. And Ms. Emerson?
I approve. Thank you.
Okay.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. With that approval of the consent agenda, we approve the September 17th, 2018 school board meeting minutes. We approve the recommendations for field trip fee requests. We approve the 2019-2020 budget timeline. We approve Thompson Station request for roadway access and partial dedication of Declaration Way at Independence High School. And we approve Jordan Elementary School concrete pad. Next item is communications to the board, the superintendent's report. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to let you all know that Dr. Looney's not here. If you haven't noticed, he's taken a couple of days. We'll be back on Thursday, and I'm obviously filling in for him tonight. Tomorrow is the end of our first quarter, and students have done great so far from everything we've heard. They're going to take a fall break after tomorrow's instructional day, and the teachers and students will be out through the rest of the week. The central office will be closed on Friday, but we're going to be open until then. I also want to let you know that David Coleman, I appreciate him being here. He's a retired finance director for the county who's actually doing some work with Thompson Station. I wanted to at least acknowledge that he was here on a vote that just passed on the consent agenda. And I want to thank the Thompson Station Middle School Orchestra for coming and performing. They did all that work in the first quarter. So that's impressive. I got to sit here and watch the strings move from a close vantage point. So that impresses me. From a substantive standpoint, did want to let you know what Dr. Looney told everyone at the work session, and has actually been published in some of the media reports, that we've concluded based on our construction schedule that we're not going to have the East Central Elementary School open for the beginning of the next school year. As Dr. Looney told you, we project that it will be open no later than the second semester. So I wanted to make sure we let everyone know that at this public meeting as well, even though we have had some media reports confirming that. And Mr. Chair, we have district updates from Carol Birdsong with a number of student spotlights and staff spotlights that really encompass a large portion of the audience tonight.
It certainly does, Mr. Golden. We are going to start tonight with a message from Dr. Looney.
Good evening, board members and members of the audience. I apologize for not being at this evening's board meeting, but I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to congratulate several of our school administrators and school communities. Scales Elementary School has been nominated and received now the Blue Ribbon School Award. That's the highest award that our nation offers schools across America for their exemplary achievement and growth. In addition to Scales, we now have 16 reward schools that are being recognized as some of the highest performing schools in the state of Tennessee by the Department of Education. Congratulations to all our school administrators, our employees, our students, and their parents for their tremendous work in continuing to make Williamson County Schools a success. Have a great evening.
Okay, so let's start the recognitions. Mr. Golden, if you'll come down, and Mr. Anderson, if you will come down to the well. Like Dr. Looney said, we have 16 reward schools tonight, so principals, I'm going to ask when we get to the reward section if you will simply bring you and 2 other people up with you, because we're going to have you all fill in the well and we'll take one big group photo. But before we get to reward schools, we are going to talk about our National Blue Ribbon School. And it is Scales Elementary School. So, Dr. Lowe and crew, come forward. I told Dr. Lowe, since she was a Blue Ribbon School, I guess she could bring whoever she wanted to. So, if y'all just come on up here. Come on up. Yes, come, just fill on in, ladies. Fill on in. Y'all gonna have to act like you like each other though. Oh, no, please. Please, please, please. Y'all got to do, oh my goodness, somebody's hiding back there. Okay. Oh yeah, I know. Say, I want to be held. That's right. Y'all really are going to have to, maybe 3 rows. Right? How are you doing, Alexander? You doing okay? Okay. Oh, yeah, oh, that's good. Okay. Jason, I need you to be taller. Okay. Okay, we ready? Alexander and I are going to do our best to get a good shot of everybody here. Okay, ready? Look my way and Alexander's way. 1, 2, 3. Smile. 1, 2, 3. You good? All right. Congratulations, Scales. Melanie, at this time, would you like to say something to the group?
Well, thank you so much. It is our pleasure to serve the Brentwood community and the Scales family. This is something that these ladies and gentlemen have been working toward for a while, and we are so proud to take this home. So thank you.
So we might add that Scales will be traveling to, I think it's Washington, D.C., is that right, in November to actually officially accept more accolades. So we are going to now start with reward schools, and we're going in alphabetical order, all mixed up, so get ready. So there we go. We're going to start first of all with Brentwood High School. And I know I saw Mr. Kydell and crew. Y'all come on up. If you will accept your frame certificate and step to the side. And then Brentwood Middle School, Brandon, if you and 2 others would like to join us. Not sure how I'm going to manage a picture with 50 people in it, but we'll give her a shot. Clovercroft Elementary School, Stacy Meese and friends. Edmondson Elementary School and Genevieve McKinney, are you? There you are. Okay, very good. If y'all wanted to clap or something to break up the silence, that would be okay. I could try to fill the time, but you know, it's kind of like dead air up here. Okay, Fairview High School and Kurt Jones. Franklin High School, Willie Dickerson. Hunters Bend and Yolanda Blackburn. Independence High School, Kevin Dyson. I swear Kevin is on my sheet, but it's okay. Okay. You try. Oh, I'm not clicking. I'm not following along. Longview Elementary School, I've got Brent Shelton and April Lee. Okay. You guys are going to have to, when it comes picture time, really fill in. Mill Creek Middle, Kari Miller and Cameron Gish. Nolensville High School, Amy Maffei. Page High School, Shane Pantal. Ravenwood High School, Pam Vaden. Carrying the weight of the school on her single shoulders. Renaissance High School, Brian Bass. Scales Elementary School, Melanie Love. And last but certainly not least, Summit High School in Saraland. Folks, these are your 16 reward schools. Just a representation of them all. And I really don't know how I'm going to take a picture of all of you. But we're going to go into, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 columns, lanes. Alexander, are you even going to try this with me?
I'll try.
Okay, you try. You try. If you get a good one, oh, y'all got to do better than that. We got a poll here. Let's come this way. Okay, y'all go this way. Yolanda, y'all come this way. That's good. Just don't scrunch too much because of the monitors. Hey, Miss, come on up, Willie. Y'all come on up. Brian, turn around. Okay, that's good. Come on, y'all. Some people, this is, okay, so. We're just going to take some pictures, so y'all just smile. Everybody smile in case you're in it. Or not. You know, it's all good. Okay, thanks. That's it, Mr. Golden, for me.
Thank you, Ms.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Carol. Congratulations to everyone here. I tell you what, this is a pretty incredible achievement for so many of our schools, especially in this past year. They did an awesome job. I heard somebody comment as I was walking back to my seat that if the Nolensville High School's unmanned aerial vehicle program had been here, we could have taken a decent picture.
Good job.
So, Mr. Chair, that completes my report.
Okay. We'll let the room clear out here. You all going to miss the drawing. You have to be present to win.
Nice.
Really?
All right, well, let's get started back. The next item is the board chairman's report. There's two things. One, I also want to thank Thompson Station for their performance with the orchestra this evening, Thompson Station Middle, and under direction of Leah Sargent. It really shows that in our district, academics, athletics, and arts are alive and well. As you can see, we had some academics. We typically have athletics, but we haven't had state championships yet. They're coming up. And, of course, the arts. Also, board members, don't forget the TSBA conference starts very soon in November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 4th. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are the dates of it. Be sure to get with Ms. Rebecca if you're wanting to sign up to attend that particular conference. It is an excellent conference, and we were extremely well represented last year. I'd like to do that again this year if possible. And that's all I had for my report. Anyone have any questions for either Jason or myself? Okay, I see nothing. Then we'll move on to, there's no unfinished business, move on to new business. The first item is the 2018-19 school board budget. And as Mr. Golden, if you go ahead and lead us through that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The item one, A1, is General Purpose School Fund Resolution Additional Early Childhood Classrooms. This is the program that serves our students who are preschool age with disabilities, and we've had growth, so we're asking for some more funding for additional classrooms here in the middle of the school year, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, would like to make a motion for this. We have a motion from Mr. Wimberly. We have a second from Ms. Cleveland. Any discussion on this one? Okay. I see none. If you'd go ahead and record your votes then, please. Okay, Ms. Emerson, how would you like to vote on this one?
I'd like to vote yes, thank you.
Okay, Mr. McNeese has pushed the button. Okay, and please record the vote.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the 7A2 General Purpose School Fund, Central Cafeteria Fund, and Extended School Program Fund Resolution for raises for all funds. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This represents the pay increase, the annual pay increase that was approved by the board previously. This is actually the funding mechanism for that pay increase.
Okay, Mr. Wimberly.
Do we have a motion?
We do not yet.
No, sir, not yet.
I'll hold off until the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion then on this particular one.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for Mr. Welch. We have a second for Mr. Haw. Okay, Mr. Wimberly.
Wimberly. I, Rick Wimberly, state that I have a relative employed by the school system and certify that I will vote in the best interest of the school district.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any further discussions on this? Okay, I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then, please. And Ms. Emerson, how would you like to vote on this one?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tim has recorded your vote.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is School Board Code of Ethics. Anyone like to make a motion for the adoption of our Code of Ethics? We have a motion for Mr. Emerson. We have a second for Mr. Cash.
Or Mr. Wimberly.
You said Emerson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't know you got married in a short time. I'm sorry, Mr. Wimberly made the motion. Sorry about that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, if this passes, then we will be reading it aloud for everyone to hear. So if you go ahead and record your votes on this. Okay, Ms. Emerson, I married you off here a few minutes ago. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Would you like to record your vote?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Tim has recorded it.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Board, over the past years, we've read this out aloud so everyone could hear and know that we do have a code of ethics, and it is probably more extensive than what the state requires or TSBA requires, but we've gone around the room, so I'd like to ask if we could do that again, and then we'll pass it around to be signed by each one of you. We have it here. We've started there. So if we could start over here, Ms. Durham, if you'd read the first section, and then we'll just go, everyone just read a section, and we'll keep going around. Wait, let me turn everybody's mics on here. Okay, go ahead.
Andy, you gonna participate too?
Sure.
Okay. I will at all times think in terms of students first, always determining other important things according to how they affect the education and development of students.
I will seek to provide equal opportunities for all students in academics, the arts, and athletics.
I will fairly appraise and support both present and future educational needs.
I'll represent at all times the entire school community and refuse to represent special interest or partisan politics.
I will maintain open lines of communication with the community.
Refrain from using district resources and to actively campaign for any candidate's elected office.
Ms. Emerson, do you have a copy of it with you?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay, then we'll just go ahead and go to Mr. Wimberly then, please.
I will support the employment of those persons best qualified to serve in our district.
I will strive to secure resources that allow our employees to perform with excellence.
I will celebrate employee accomplishments and refrain from public critique.
I will recognize that authority rests only with the board in official meetings and that the individual member has no legal status outside of such meetings.
I will at all times comply with the Tennessee Open Meetings Act, the Sunshine Law.
I will make final decisions only after full discussion of matters at a board meeting.
I will respect the opinion of other members and will accept the principle of majority rule.
I will attend all regularly scheduled board meetings insofar as possible and become informed concerning the issues to be considered at those meetings.
I will work with other board members to establish effective board policies and to delegate authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent.
I will refrain from public critique of fellow board members.
I will support full administrative authority as well as responsibility for the superintendent to properly discharge all professional duties.
I will support superintendent accountability for working and requiring staff to work within the framework of policies set by the board.
I will refer all complaints and concerns to the superintendent.
I will refrain from public critique of the superintendent outside of board deliberations.
I will inform myself about my duties and responsibilities and current educational issues by individual study and through participation in programs providing needed information.
I will avoid being placed in a position of conflict of interest.
I will refrain from using my position on the board for personal or partisan gain.
I will take no action that will compromise the board, the district, or administration.
I will respect the confidentiality of information that is privileged under applicable law. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the school board's code of ethics that we all have agreed to and have signed and voted for unanimously. So thank you, board members, for that. And I'd like the general public to know that we do have a code and that we read it aloud so everyone understands that we do believe in it and live by it to the best of our abilities. All right, the next item on our agenda is board policies, first reading. Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a bit of an unusual approach that we're taking currently with our board policies, in that a few months ago we commissioned the TSBA to review our policies and help us double check everything. And so we've broken this up into 3 sections. One is changes to existing policies. It's listed as new policies there for first reading. The second is delete policies, particular policies that TSBA has recommended we don't need, and that at least at first reading we agree. And then finally, we actually have a third section, which is a new policy that we're treating separately because it's to bring us into compliance with a new Tennessee law that takes effect in January. I wanted to give you all that overview and emphasize to you that this is the first reading for these policies, and under our board policy, governing policies, we will be looking at this a second time before all these fully pass.
All right, so board members, we're going to look at section 1, new policies. We're going to vote on all those at one time with it being first reading. Would anyone like to make a motion on that? Ms. Garrett, we have a motion from Ms. Garrett. I'd like to second that motion. I'm sorry. Dan? Mr. Cash made second. Thank you. Any discussion on these? Okay, I see no discussion. You have the recommendation for administration. If you go ahead and record your votes then, please. Ms. Emerson?
Yes.
Thank you. And that has been recorded that way.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, board. The next part is board policies, first reading, section 1, item number 2, deleted policies. Mr. Golden.
Likewise, these are particular policies that the Tennessee School Boards Association is recommending that we delete from our policy manual. So at first reading, those are recommendations from the policy committee, and staff recommends approval.
Anyone like to make a motion for this? To delete policies? We have a motion from Mr. Fiskus. I'd like to second. We have a second from Ms. Durham. Any further discussion on these? Okay, I see none, and you have the staff's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes. Ms. Emerson?
Yes. Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, board. The next item is board policies first reading. Item number 3, it's a new policy 3.212 on district water testing. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The state passed a law this past legislative session regarding testing water for lead. We're working on a process to make sure that we put this law into effect. The law actually goes into effect itself on January 1st of this coming year. Based upon the way this policy reads, it is exactly in keeping with the law, and staff recommends approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Cleveland. Anyone like to second? Second from Ms. Durham. Any further discussion on this new law? Mr. Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually on all the policies. I'd just like to thank Dana and staff and everyone on the policy committee for presenting these different sections and laying it out in such a perfect way that makes it very easy to compare policies with the TSBA, and that all of these policies have been looked over and I think it was a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Mr. Galbraith?
Yeah, ditto that from Dan, but just want to ask for public consumption. So this is a state law, and now we have to comply. Can you just estimate the cost per school and what this is going to cost us, I guess, annually? Or is this going to are all the testing going to be done in 1 year, and then what's that going to look like going forward?
So let me give you a little bit of details of the law to try to answer that. The law requires any school building built before January 1st of 1998 to be tested. The law is not specific on how many tests at a particular location or where. However, we have a plan through Mark Samuels in his office to test at a number of points, including, of course, the entryway for the location of where the water enters the school, water fountains, areas in the kitchen, particularly the areas that are the areas where we will actually be drinking water from. The law has a 2-year window to get this done. Mark has told me that each test is going to be about $14. We're going to do multiple tests at each school. The ballpark of what he told me he expects it to cost, at least in this first year, is about $125,000 or so.
And then so the law requires us to test everything that's older than 1998?
Correct.
Is there a point at which we will test the other schools?
We'll consider it. This is one of those, you hear the proverb, unfunded mandates. This is one of those. We've actually been testing the Pinewood school facility for years and years. It's on a well water, so we actually have been the provider, and so we've been testing that. And what we're going to do is look at the results of this, and what we have heard is, in addition to the potential at the water provider, that there may be some copper fittings on particular water sources that may have led over the course of years. Those are the ones we're going to double check. But at this stage, what we want to do is find out what we're looking at prior to 1998, and then look at anything in the future. As I understand it, the law prohibited use of lead in that kind of work dating back to 1989. And so the legislature pushed that 1989 line another 10 years beyond the point at which this was prohibited in the substantive work that plumbers do.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments or questions? All right, I see none. You have the staff's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes. Ms. Emerson?
Yes. I vote yes.
Thank you.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda for the evening, unless you all want to just stay around and see who wins that drawing at the end. I have nothing else. Anything, Jason?
No, sir.
All right, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. It does. I've noticed.